All right, welcome back. The Arizona congressman Dave Schweikert is now making a new pitch to reduce the U.S. budget deficit, potentially. Cut waistlines and the country's $1.7 trillion deficit with weight loss drugs like Ozempic. Now, the congressman thinks that the popular weight loss drugs could lower obesity rates, which could result in less government spending on health care. We've talked about this drug and this issue here, Julia, for a while. You knew this was coming to the point where a member of Congress was going to make this argument saying, look, the projected government spending on obesity and related diseases, $4.1 trillion over the next decade. So why not pay for this stuff?
Yeah, look, my question is, how does the government regulate who can get Ozempic and who can't? Because there are the people who may be classified as clinically obese who need Ozempic, and in that case, they would qualify for it. However, we're starting to see that this drug has been taken by people who don't fit into that category, just to lose weight for cosmetic purposes, maybe. And then we see that this drug also can have some pretty negative side effects. So, who regulates?
So the first thing you said caught my attention because you said how the government could. Bill, I think an argument from Republicans, and correct me if I'm wrong, generally speaking, would be, do you want the government to regulate this?
Right. And the government shouldn't be prescribing the drug anyway. So if somebody is obese, that should be something between them and their doctor to try and figure it out.
And their carrier.
And the carrier gets involved.
What about this from Washington State? A woman suing in that state saying, here was the New York Times headline, her insurance refused to pay for Wegovy, so she sued. She says, quote, they're being penny wise and pound foolish. What will they be paying in 10 to 15 years if I don't continue to lose the weight?
So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Congressman Schweikert and say that what he is proposing is really the people who are already getting their drugs through a government program that they're through the Veterans Administration or their Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, that they change the scheduling so that the federal government will pay this. But here's the problem. We don't know enough about this drug, and we don't know enough about the long-term consequences. And once you're on it, can you get off it? Because we have some indications that people, once they start taking this drug for weight loss, they can't ever stop taking it. It becomes for the rest of their life. How much does the drug cost? How much would writing more prescriptions for this drive the cost of the drug? All of those things. It just feels like engineering to me by a congressman, not sound practical science.
Well, if you're under the doctor's care, they will wean you off it once you get your weight number. The problem is many people aren't under doctor's care. Many of them aren't following the doctor because they see the dramatic weight loss, which does have health pluses. That is lower blood pressure.
Sure.
You're no longer pre-diabetic or diabetic, and all the health issues. You're not snoring anymore. You don't have sleep apnea if you lose this weight. So that's a really good point. The problem is that enough? Well, we need to be regulating our food services compared to health care because our food and
Get off my McRib.
Is Congress ever going to go down this road, though? Like, that's the
I don't think so, but I think, Julia and Scott brought up a very good point that I would just emphasize. Ozempic right now is a treatment for diabetes. And many diabetics, have weight issues, right? That's one of the reasons how you become pre-diabetic and everything else. It hasn't been prescribed and it hasn't been approved for weight loss yet. So we seem to be getting out ahead of ourselves and not understanding, as you said, what the true long-term impact of this could be when you start prescribing a drug for somebody whose A1C levels are perfectly fine, but you want to do it for the weight loss purposes, and that could have an adverse effect. We just don't understand all that.
Mounjaro has been approved by the FDA for weight loss, but again, the long-term effects like pancreatitis and even pancreatic cancer are possibilities. But at this point, that's what we know. So. We'll have to continue to watch.
Elizabeth, I think you've been probably listening to some of this. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, this drug, this issue. You knew that Congress was going to at least float something like this at some point.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, there are a lot of questions, and you guys on the panel have been talking about this already. That does seem to be clear that people who take this for weight loss do need to take it for the rest of their lives. We don't yet know what the consequences are for doing all of that. But this has been a game changer for so many people who are now suing their insurance company. I interviewed that woman last week who's trying to get her insurance company to cover the cost of this. And tonight on the show, we're even talking about the push to put kids as young as 6 years old on this drug.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know. There's a lot
What's
of debate
the argument there?
The argument there is obesity is a huge problem in this country, and childhood obesity is an enormous issue and can lead to very serious health implications and consequences, not just down the line when you're 60, 50, 40 years old, but even as a teenager. So hypertension, heart disease, problems with your joints, it really can change things. But gosh, it's a little bit unnerving to have all these people taking this drug without any long-term testing on the consequences of taking this just for weight loss.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.